The crystalline hall of the Galactic Tribunal stretched toward infinity, its walls shimmering with the light of 1 billion stars. Ambassador Marcus Webb stood alone on the accused platform, a circle of burning white light that seemed to bore through his very soul. Around him, arranged in ascending tiers that vanished into darkness above, sat representatives from 372 species. Their eyes, some biological, others mechanical, fixed upon him with unanimous contempt. Marcus's hands trembled slightly, but he forced them still. His gray diplomatic uniform, once pristine, was stained with the dust of hasty evacuation. 48 hours ago, he had been celebrating a breakthrough in joint human-alien research. Now he stood trial for genocide. Ambassador Webb, the voice of arbitrator Velkoth, echoed through the chamber, emanating from everywhere and nowhere at once. The Velkoth were beings of pure energy, their forms barely visible as purple mist. You have heard the charges. The joint expedition to Kepler 442, led by human scientists, resulted in a cascading quantum collapse. 7 planets, 14 billion souls. Gone in an instant. Marcus's throat tightened. He had seen the reports, watched the simulations a dozen times. The experimental quantum resonance array, designed to peer into parallel dimensions, had somehow destabilized the system's star. What should have been humanity's greatest achievement became its darkest hour. The investigation clearly shows human error, continued another voice. This one belonging to Counselor Thexra of the Krill hegemony. The insectoid's mandibles clicked with barely contained rage. Your species' recklessness, your arrogance in manipulating forces you do not understand. This cannot be tolerated. It was an accident, Marcus said, his voice hoarse. Our team died in that collapse too. Dr. Helena Morse, Dr. Jamal Foster, 38 of our brightest minds. An accident? Thexra's compound eyes flared red. You call the erasure of entire civilizations an accident? My colony mates were among the dead. Species that took millennia to evolve. Cultures older than your entire planetary history. Snuffed out because humans couldn't resist playing with reality itself. Marcus wanted to argue, to explain that every safety protocol had been followed, that 17 other species had approved the experiment, but he saw the truth in their eyes. They needed someone to blame. Humanity had always been the newcomers, the primitives who stumbled into galactic society only 3 centuries ago. This tragedy simply confirmed what many had always believed. Humans were too dangerous, too unpredictable. The tribunal has reached its verdict, Velkoth announced. Humanity is hereby quarantined to your home system. The Veil Protocol will be enacted immediately. Marcus's blood ran cold. The Veil Protocol was theoretical, something whispered about in dark corners of diplomatic circles. A barrier of quantum-locked space-time impenetrable from within. You're imprisoning us. Marcus's voice cracked. For how long? Until you prove you are worthy of rejoining civilized space, Velkoth said simply. Or forever, whichever comes first. Dr. Sienna Frost pressed her palm against the observation window, feeling the faint vibration of the research station's systems humming through the reinforced glass. Beyond, the veil shimmered like an aurora frozen in time, beautiful, deadly, and absolute. She had been born 317 years after Ambassador Webb's trial, yet she knew his final speech by heart. Every child did, still talking to it. Her colleague, Dr. Yuki Chen, floated into the lab, magnetic boots clicking softly as they engaged with the floor plating. Sienna smiled without turning. It talks back, if you know how to listen. That was the thing most people didn't understand about the veil. It wasn't just a wall, it was a living mathematical equation, a self-sustaining loop of quantum probability that the Council's best minds had woven around humanity's solar system 5 centuries ago. Earth, Mars, the asteroid colonies, even distant Pluto station, all trapped inside a bubble 40 astronomical units in diameter. Any luck with the phase resonance tests? Yuki asked, pulling up holographic displays that filled the air with cascading data. More than luck, Sienna replied, finally turning from the window. Her eyes gleamed with barely suppressed excitement. I found the degradation pattern. Yuki, the veil is dying. Silence filled the lab. Outside, Neptune hung like a blue jewel against the impossible shimmer of their prison. Dying? Yuki whispered. That's impossible. The Council designed it to last millennia. They designed it to last as long as humanity remained technologically stagnant, Sienna corrected, bringing up her own data streams. But we didn't stay stagnant, did we? Humanity had transformed in isolation. Without access to alien technology or trade, without the crutch of borrowed science, they had been forced to innovate or perish. The first century had been desperate, riots, wars, near collapse. But then something shifted. United by their shared imprisonment, humanity had channeled its rage into purpose. They cracked quantum manipulation within 2 centuries, learned to fold space-time like origami. The phase shift drives that powered their ships now operated on principles the Council had never imagined. Humanity hadn't just caught up to their jailers, they had surpassed them. "Show me," Yuki said, moving closer to the displays. Sienna expanded the data, revealing 500 years of meticulous measurements. The veil maintains itself by drawing energy from quantum foam, siphoning power from the zero-point field. But our ships, our stations, even our communication networks, they all use that same energy source now. Every time we phase shift, every time we activate a quantum drive, we create tiny ripples in the field. Like waves interfering with each other, Yuki breathed, understanding dawning. Exactly. 5 centuries of accumulated interference. The veil is still strong, but there are weak points now, fractures in the quantum lattice. Sienna highlighted dozens of spots around the barrier where the mathematical probability fields showed microscopic variations. In approximately 14 months, Section 7 will experience a critical cascade failure. A hole, Yuki said flatly. Big enough for a ship. Big enough for a fleet. The implications hung between them like a physical weight. For 5 centuries, humanity had screamed into the void, pleading for a second chance, for mercy, for justice. Their messages bounced uselessly off the veil's inner surface. The galaxy had erased them from history, deleted Earth from every star chart, forbidden even the mention of humanity in their records. But now, the prison door was opening. "We need to tell the Directorate," Yuki said, but Sienna caught her arm. "We will. But first, we need to decide something." Sienna's expression hardened, reflecting the cold determination that had kept humanity alive through half a millennium of darkness. "When that breach opens, what kind of species do we want them to see? The desperate prisoners begging for forgiveness? Or something else entirely?" Yuki met her gaze and understood. During their isolation, humanity hadn't just advanced technologically, they had evolved philosophically. The old nations had dissolved, replaced by the Unity Directorate. Old grudges had been burned away in the crucible of shared suffering. "Commander Grant needs to know about this immediately," Yuki finally said. "If we're going back out there, we're going back on our terms." Sienna nodded, turning once more to the window. Beyond the veil, 372 species lived in blissful ignorance, believing humanity was safely contained, or possibly extinct. They had forgotten Earth, forgotten the species they'd imprisoned for a tragic accident. But humanity remembered everything. Fleet Commander Tobias Grant stood on the bridge of the Prometheus Dawn, watching the veil fracture like glass, struck by an invisible hammer. 14 months had passed since Dr. Frost's discovery. 14 months of preparation, debate, and ultimately, decision. Now as hairline cracks of blazing light spider-webbed across the quantum barrier, humanity held its collective breath. "Breach integrity at 40%. Reported Lieutenant Jackson Voss from Tactical. 30, 20. The veil shattered. For the first time in 500 years, pure starlight from beyond their prison flooded into the solar system. Tobias felt tears sting his eyes, though he refused to let them fall. Around him, his crew gasped, some weeping openly. They were free. "All ships, this is Grant," he said, voice steady despite the emotion churning in his chest. "Begin phase shift sequence. Stay in formation. Remember, we're not here for revenge. We're here to be seen." Behind the Prometheus Dawn, 200 vessels materialized from quantum fold space, their hulls black as void and lined with the blue-white glow of phase reactors. They were sleek, angular, utterly unlike anything the Council had ever built. 5 centuries of isolation had made humanity's engineering incomprehensible to those who had imprisoned them. The fleet crossed the threshold together, entering what had once been designated Sector 447 Neutral Zone. It took exactly 47 minutes before the first Council ship detected them. "Commander, we're being hailed," said Communications Officer Petra Blackwood. It's a Krill patrol vessel. They're demanding identification." "Open a channel," Tobias ordered. Visual. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a Krill captain whose mandibles worked in confusion. Behind him, Tobias could see crew members scrambling in panic. They had detected the quantum signatures, readings that made no sense. Technology that shouldn't exist. "Unknown vessels, you are in violation of Council space." The Krill captain buzzed, though his voice carried uncertainty. "Identify yourselves immediately, or be fired upon." Tobias stepped forward, his silver Unity Directorate uniform catching the light. "I am Fleet Commander Tobias Grant of the Terran Unity Fleet. We are human." The word hit like a shockwave. The Krill captain's compound eyes widened. Several crew members in the background froze mid-motion. For a moment there was only stunned silence. "Impossible," the captain finally whispered. "You're contained. The veil is gone," Tobias said simply. "And we're done asking for permission to exist." The Krill ship's weapons powered up, a reflexive response born of fear. Tobias didn't flinch. "Lieutenant Voss, demonstration protocol," he ordered quietly. "Aye, Commander." The Prometheus Dawn didn't fire a weapon. Instead, it simply shifted. One moment it occupied normal space-time. The next, it phased into a quantum superposition, existing in multiple probability states simultaneously. To the Krill senses, it appeared as if 100 ships had replaced one, each slightly out of phase with reality itself. Then the fleet did the same. 200 ships became 20,000 ghost images, filling the space around the Krill vessel like a net of stars. The patrol ship's weapons targeting systems screamed in alarm, unable to lock onto anything solid. "We spent 500 years learning to manipulate the same forces that built our cage," Tobias said, as his ship phased back into singular existence. "Quantum probability, space-time topology, zero-point energy harvesting, concepts your scientists still consider theoretical. We didn't just match your technology, Captain. We transcended it." The Krill captain's mandibles trembled. What do you want?" "To speak with the Council," Tobias replied. "They made a choice 5 centuries ago. Now they'll answer for it." Within hours, the emergency session had been called. Within days, Tobias stood before the same crystalline hall where Ambassador Webb had been condemned. But this time it was different. This time a fleet of impossible ships hung in orbit above the Council world, their presence a promise and a threat. Arbitrator Velkoth materialized before him, purple mist coalescing into vaguely humanoid form. "Commander Grant," the energy being intoned, "the Council acknowledges humanity's return. But you must understand, no." Tobias interrupted, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You will understand. For 500 years we screamed. We pleaded. We proved ourselves reformed 1,000 times over, and you ignored us. You erased us from history, while we evolved beyond your comprehension in the darkness you forced upon us." He looked up at the tiers of alien representatives, many species he didn't even recognize, new members who had joined while humanity was imprisoned. "We could destroy this council," Tobias continued, letting the weight of that truth settle over them. "Our weapons could unmake your stars. Our ships could phase your entire fleets into quantum foam. But we won't. Because unlike you, we remember what it means to show mercy." Counselor Thexera, ancient now and leaning on support struts, chittered weakly. "Then what do you demand?" Tobias pulled out a data crystal, letting it hover between them with quantum levitation. "A new treaty. Humanity will not be governed by this council. We are autonomous, sovereign, and equal. You will restore Earth to every star chart. You will teach your children what you did to us and what we chose not to do in return." "And if we refuse?" Velkoth asked quietly. Tobias's expression hardened. "Then we leave. We take our technology, our knowledge, our mercy, and we go beyond your reach forever. And the next time something threatens this galaxy, when you need innovation, courage, or sacrifice? You'll search the stars for humanity and find only silence. The choice was simple, brutal, and impossible to ignore. 3 days later, the Treaty of Recognition was signed. Humanity rejoined the galaxy, not as the species that had been judged, but as the civilization that had transcended judgment itself. As Tobias's fleet departed the Council world, Dr. Sienna Frost's message reached him from Earth. "We're free, Commander. Truly free." He smiled, watching the stars stretch before them, no longer barriers but possibilities. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never forget them again.